Talkandheal is a platform where we tell stories about mental illness. We tell stories about mental illness to bring awareness, to bring hope, to stop the stigma and save lives. And today we're talking with my friends here. We're going to all share our experiences with what is going on in our communities and also talk about mental illness and how mental illness affects our community, especially the Black community. So I will hand it over to my friend Shay for Shay to tell us a little bit about herself and her experience with mental illness.
My name is Shantae Franco Clausen. I go by Shay. My pronouns are she and hers. And I'm currently elected official here in Santa Clara County, and I'm a native of San Jose, and just became a recent co-host with my partner here to address other things that are intersectionality of mental health and community and Blackness.
I'm Bula. I'm an entrepreneur. I actually have a jerky business. It's called Bula Scorching Jerky. We also have podcasts, like she mentioned. It's called The Bridge. And basically what we do is we're bridging the gap between people, community, arts, different things to like bring everybody together. We have a lot of things going on right now in the world to where a lot of bridges are burning, and we're trying to make everything come back together and get everybody together.
Thank you so much for you. Thank you all for coming. Today we're going to talk about mental illness. Like I said, I'm a mental health advocate. And from my experience, what I have found is that mental illness is still a taboo in our communities. And I would like us to maybe for Shay to share her experience with us.
Yeah, I mean, trauma, I think it's like in every piece of our life. We get trauma in the workplace when we're discriminated against and we're silenced. It has a way to manifest on your soul. When it comes to, community relationships, opportunities, that's one form of institutional trauma. The trauma that comes from within our community, from addiction, mental health, mass incarceration. I experienced a lot of that in my family, and sexual assault. I think that has been my interaction with trauma. And since mental health is a negative stigma, people don't want to talk about mental health, there was no one to address the trauma. There was no, resources for me to get the support. So I had to find different coping mechanism to be able to manage all those emotions and my experiences. I'm 45 today, and I still have coping issues where I have to find different ways to soothe myself and heal myself. But I'm a work in progress. And I'm not where I was last year, and I'm not where I was 10 years ago. So I feel like this topic needs to be discussed a lot more so we can help our younger generation.
For sure.
I agree with you. And I agree with you that we don't talk about it enough. Mm-hmm. And we don't open up enough to where we can go to the professionals and get the help that we need. And you're a mother, I'm also a mother. And sometimes our parents, our grandparents, who maybe from their own experience too, did not have opportunity, did not know what mental illness was, they didn't have the knowledge to tell us how to handle these issues when it occurs in our families. I know that most people, when you come home and tell them that you have a mental illness, they say, "Oh, you're not praying enough." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They say they take you to church. They call the pastor to pray for you.
Right. Have them over the house.
They have the pastor and everybody, all the elders over the house to pray for you, which sometimes even makes it worse. Right. Because the kids, instead of expressing themselves, they start hiding it. And they start come out and smile as if everything is okay, and it's not okay. So I think that those are the things that we really need to talk about and give people access to see how they can get help from the professionals. What about you? What do you think?
You know what? Like, just even sitting here, you guys are two beautiful women. This is the thing. You're welcome. But this is how, like, women, like, they have different conversations amongst themselves to where there's like a stigma with Black males to where we feel like we're too macho, so we really can't really even have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, as far as being a Black male, it's kind of like one of those things to where like, oh, as far as going through therapy or something like that, people are looking at you like, why would you go tell these people your business?
Yeah.
And being incarcerated long ago and going through everything I went through back then, being raised in a family where there was a lot of domestic violence, like therapy is the way to go. As far as anything else, it's kind of, I mean, it's just something that we need to talk about. Mental health is definitely something that a lot of people will go through, especially in our neighborhoods, especially in our culture. We go through a lot of it, so it's just time to bring it to the forefront and see what we can do to help each other. There's a lot of programs out there that can help us, but we just don't reach out for some odd reason, and it's time for us to start reaching out.
I agree with you totally. I agree with you, and my brother, I really appreciate you even sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because most men wouldn't even open up to say that they are hurting.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're here to support you, and that's really the purpose of all this is for us to support each other.
Yes, ma'am.
For us, if you know, please tell me. If I know, please I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Right.
And you brought up a point. I will also tell you from my own experience. My uncle was having so much issues with. He has 4 boys. Was having so much issues with the boys, and I told him, I said, Uncle, take these boys to therapy.
Right.
He said, what? You mean that therapy is what is they will be the one to tell me how to raise my children?
Oh yeah.
I say, yes, Uncle.
Yeah.
They will help.
Definitely.
They will help.
Definitely.
You know, but after a long time he did. He didn't take the kids to therapy, you know, and it was so helpful. He learned how to talk to, I told him, I said, what is missing is how to talk to each other.
Right.
They are men too, they are little men. Take them to therapy so that we will learn how to talk to each other. And when he did, and it was very, very helpful. So thank you for sharing that. I think that is what in our community that all of us need to
Definitely
start encouraging each other. They don't even have to have mental illness for us to take them to the doctor to see what is going on. To just even find out what is going on.
Well, it's one of those situations to where there's some things that are just on your mind that you have to have somebody there that's neutral to just have a conversation with. Because you don't want to be judged and you don't want somebody to be judgmental just looking over you like, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. If you're actually speaking to somebody who's like, I don't know, you can call them a life coach or you can call them a therapist. Somebody that's able to like kind of guide you like, well, maybe you should try this or maybe you should try this. It's different than just going to talk to one of your friends or somebody you know and hopefully they can give you good advice. Sometimes it's good to go out the circle.
That's true. I went to, I experienced some discrimination and some racism through some women here in the area and they were attacking me. I didn't realize how much that had hit my soul until I had a really dark moment. And my wife's like, okay, you need to get somebody to talk to. And then I just admitted to myself that I couldn't handle it. I couldn't cope with it. I didn't know how to manage this pain that I felt. I'd never felt like so attacked. I mean, I've gone through trauma, but to someone to come after me in such a harsh way, it hit me so deep. I went to psychiatrists to get me to therapists. I was like, I need everyone to help me now. I'll go to the depression class. I'll go to all the classes because I never want to have a dark moment like that again. To where it was a dark moment. But at least I had my wife here to say I'm having this moment and I am not okay.
Right.
And I have healthcare, good healthcare, but for the people who don't and haven't admitted to themselves when they have these situations of realness and these honest conversations with self, who can admit it out loud on camera.
That's another point.
It's about making sure you're okay and using your platforms to spread the word about it. We all deal with it.
We all deal with it.
Definitely.
We all deal with it. And you also brought up something, admitting to it first. That's the beginning of healing.
Right.
Because if you're going through it and you're not admitting it to yourself, you are ashamed of it. You don't even want to talk to anybody about it. You just be pretending all your life and you come out and you smile, then you go back to your house and you cry. But if you're able to talk to somebody about it, maybe they can point you to the right direction. Like you said, your wife encouraged you to. And that's also another thing I would also like us to talk about, that even though that we need professional help to get well, especially when mental illness is involved, you also need family support.
Yes.
Friends support.
Definitely.
Because if someone is going through mental illness, you get the professional help that you need. But you come home, the people at home don't know what is going on or don't know how to support you. That will just be increasing your stress and increasing your, will even manifest in other ways. Maybe depression, maybe just, So our community will need a lot of education surrounding mental illness. We need to talk about it. And you, the man, we'll bring it back again to you.
I don't know. I just, as far as, you brought up a good point, as far as having like the right people around you, like we all have those friends or family members that are negative. And I know it's hard to cut off the negative parts of your family or the negative parts of your friends because you've known them for so long. But being around a positive situation and a positive environment, that's another way of growing. So if you kind of cut the negative stuff out, you can only move forward. If you keep the negative stuff in your life, you can try to move forward, but there's always going to be something bringing you back down. So as far as cutting that out, I know it's hard, but it has to be done.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sometimes even our family members that don't understand what you're going through, that is causing you so much stress. Yeah, I think sometimes it's good to step back a little bit, get yourself well, then you can come back and maybe interact in a positive way.
I don't know. There's some people, some people staying back there. I can't allow that in my space. I mean, there's family members I cut away from my children because the trauma they caused me, and I had to think that I didn't want to make them go through what I went through. The things you had to hush about. And so I've actually raised my kids within my family unit of friends, and that has been my family support because I wasn't sure if they got help. I knew what I was working on me, and then I went to the one situation and it wasn't fixed, and I almost got killed. So I was like, okay, I need to stay away from that entire space and that energy and raise my kids in a different way. And my kids have had therapy. It's a very honest conversation in this house. Is we all got the semicolon when our daughter's coach called and said, your daughter is dealing with depression. You need to come to the school now. So we called all of our friends. We called everyone over. So when she came home, she saw that she had a unit.
That's what we're talking about.
And everybody, we just hugged her and loved her and gave her got her a service dog. We did everything we could to get her from that space. And then we all got the semicolon. And support. We all have it. All of us have it tattooed. Well, Joshua, he was little, so we drew it on him. But when he's of age, he's going to get it as well. Because I wanted to normalize the talk about it in my house, at least with my family.
Yes.
So you make a definitely good point. So I got a question. You brought up your uncle as far as getting his kids mental health and getting him a therapist. You said it took 2 years. Throughout that 2 years, I know there's probably going through a lot of different things. After that 2 years finally happened, where he finally understood what you were saying and got them help, how did that change?
Yeah, taking those kids to therapy was amazing. Everything changed, the way they talk, the way they speak to people, their interaction with. In the first place, they were. I think sometimes our kids going through adolescence, having 3-4 of them at the same time, teenagers, is a lot of work on itself. So sometimes they might not even have all mental health problems, but they're just having difficulties how to manipulate life. So I think that was the biggest issue that they had, was that they were just trying to figure themselves out. And Uncle didn't know how to handle 3 boys, handle 3 boys. So he had to go to somebody else to help him, help everybody learn how to talk to each other. Like I said, that was just the biggest thing. My uncle would start yelling, and the kids will start yelling, and
a lot of yelling.
A lot of yelling at home. A lot of testosterone. You say, I'm the man of the house. They say, oh, well, we are the man of the house too. So, it becomes like, okay, who is listening to who? But he took them to therapy. They are Catholics.
Okay.
That's another thing I would also like to, if anybody that is listening to us here now is a Catholic, there is help with Catholic charities. They have what they call Catholic charities. And therapy is so cheap through Catholic charities. So I think at the time they went, it was like maybe about $35 a section for the whole family.
Oh,
I
wow.
think
Cheap.
that is awesome.
That is a good
Nice.
price.
That is awesome.
I might have to call them.
Right. I might need
That's my
some
copay
too.
for just me.
Yeah, for going through insurance. So I think that's some of the reasons I wanted us to do this,
Right.
so that we can share information that we know. You know, he had those 4 boys plus him and his wife.
Right.
They were going every Saturday. I think every section, like every Saturday they went, was like only $35
Wow.
from through Catholic Charities. And I think they did it for about 4 months or 5 months thereabout. Like you said, that was just a life-changing experience for all of us.
I was going to say, you say you saw a big change.
Yeah, I saw a big change with everybody started talking a little bit more respectful to each other. My uncle started reducing his voice.
Right.
Now he found out, yeah, you're the dad,
Right.
but they have opinions.
Definitely.
You know, which was what I was trying to explain to him. And hey, who am I?
Couldn't hear you.
He couldn't hear me. You know, initially he went, he's like, oh, the therapist will see is even a little girl. She's younger than you. And she just sitting down there telling me what to do in my house. I'm like, oh, uncle, just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. You will see you see the benefit. And I think after a month or so, he felt that there was a change and he could see the benefit of the therapy.
Right.
So I think that is something that I will encourage our community to talk more about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Talk more about. You know,
I go every other week. So I go every 2 weeks.
Yeah, great.
Therapy.
Great.
I need it. Right now, I need it a lot. I need it every day. Dealing with the trauma of what's happening in the world and people, I think it's not alarming to see, and sadly I'm desensitized to it, is seeing the death of Black men and Black women because it's our normal. But I think the response of the media and how it's everywhere now is if I needed more reminders of our oppression. And I bring that into men, like George Floyd. They criminalize his character and his past. But let's think about where was his mental health support and the justice system. And I watched 13th for the 20th time last night. I don't know why I went to sleep watching 13th, but I did. And just understanding how the numbers and the politics associated to incarcerating men inside the jails, they're not getting therapy. There's no rehabilitation component. They are caged into a little 6x2, it seems like, the smallest little rooms, and no support. They come out, they go in. And when they're on lockdown or in solitary, who's talking to them every day to make sure their mental health? If they're doing time to rehabilitate themselves, we have to start there. I think we have to start there and in our communities of color, and really start making mental health cool.
Yes.
Maybe incentivize it. In the
Change
program,
the
time off.
conversation.
Like Prop was it 157? They give you time off for going to school. Well, give me time off for getting the mental health support I need.
Well, being incarcerated, the only time you're going to get to see mental health or any kind of therapist is if you say you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Or you're saying you hear voices. There is no just a regular person that comes by and just actually does therapy to make sure that the inmates are doing well, or make sure they're in a good mind space.
Yeah.
You have to do something to the extreme in order to get some attention.
Yeah.
And even taking it out of the incarceration situation, just being at home watching the news every day.
Yeah.
I might need a therapist.
Yeah.
Because everything I hear is negative, 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 negative. I haven't heard anything positive on the news in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
So, it's not only them being locked up, it's even us just being out here on the streets. Every time we get in our car or every time we leave our house, we listen to what we heard on the news and we're like, could this happen to us? Could this happen to us? That's a form of mental health that's just not good.
And it's happening to all of us because we're watching it on TV every day.
Right.
And we're traumatized, we're re-traumatized, and it's everybody.
Yes.
And the same people that have been going through this, especially in our Black communities.
Yeah.
I have a boy.
Right.
And I'm sure you have boys too. You
3.
have boys too.
3.
From the time 3 boys, okay.
I got 3 too.
3 boys.
By the time they're kids, we just tell them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this,
Yes.
don't do this. That's all they hear.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Don't do this. Or you want to be killed. Sometimes I'll tell my boy.
Oh yeah, I do it too.
I'll tell
I'm
my boy.
guilty.
You see, he'll put on his hoodie. I'm like,
Take that.
take your hoodie off so people can see your face.
Yeah,
They can mistake you from somebody else and get you.
definitely.
It's like, so mom, I won't live my life because of the police. I said, you want to die?
Right.
Right.
What do you
It's not
want?
just police either. It's neighbors.
Mhm.
You could be taking a jog.
Yeah.
You could be sitting in your living room eating ice cream.
Take
As
your
we've seen.
hoodie off.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So these kids, honestly, sadly,
Right.
these things just traumatize them.
Right.
There's some kids that don't even want to go out of their house because they are now afraid of all the
Yeah.
things we've told them.
Yes.
What about the ones that are really having mental illness, that are having
Or-
depression and anxiety? They can't even walk the street because they're afraid.
Right.
Or the ones that have already experienced police trauma or school bullying or harassment online right now, trying to cope with that. And it's unfortunately in the male's mind. I don't know, because I'm a woman, so I can't tell you how men are wired.
Yeah, I just.
But yeah, no, but that's also the question.
Tell us. That's for you.
It's having sons as a woman,
Right.
right? Is trying to talk to him about what's right and wrong, only because I care. And with everything that's happening, my son was on a Zoom and he said, "Yeah, I hate the police," and he lives in a home with a police officer,
Oh.
and it was because the trauma that he's experienced from
right.
me caring about him, saying, "Call me when you get on the bus. As soon as you get to school, call me. As soon as you get on campus, call me. As soon as you get out of practice, call me. Text me when you're at the bus. When you're on the bus, sit by the bus driver." I say all these different things because I am in fear.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm causing him trauma because I'm so worried about
And
him."
that is so true. We're putting our own fears on them.
Yep.
Yes.
But our own fears is also
Reality,
valid.
but it's
Right.
reality.
It's also valid
Right.
because we don't want our boys to die.
Yeah.
So you start from young age telling them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that.
I cut his hair.
Yeah. Mine one day he just comes home. He said, "Oh mom, I want to leave my hair so I can have an afro." I'm like, okay. Now
I did for a while, and then I had him cut it off, and he said, "You're right," because he's been targeted already.
Yeah.
So he's just like, yeah, and now he doesn't wear the hoodie when he leaves the house. Like, I just told him, I said, just don't give him any excuse.
that's what I said. to him.
But I want him, then how's he have the freedom of expression?
That's what they said.
So it's like we're stuck because we can't control the outside world's hate for black skin, and then letting our kids take a knee.
We stop them, but we expect them to go too.
Yeah.
How can you do both?
Right.
You can't do both. We pull them back, we stop them, but we expect them to do well, shine and do this and do very, very well, but we're pulling them back.
I mean, there's a lot of stigma behind the father in the home or they're a two-parent home. Like I've been through a lot where my parents were separated, divorced, that type of thing. The strongest person I ever had my back was my mom. And she saw my dad go through different things, and she's also been through different things with different racial situations. The things that she taught me, don't get me wrong, I didn't listen to every single thing, but the stronger things that she did teach me that I did actually listen to, it made me come to be a better person. And the things that I didn't listen to, now I look back and was like, why didn't I listen? Things would have been a lot totally different, So that's another thing with as far as the mental health is kind of like, things that you don't listen to, and then you put yourself in a situation to where now you're crashing. If you would have just listened, or somebody else talk to you about it, like like when you listen to like your parents say something to you, it's kind of like, oh, mom and dad are tripping.
Yeah, they don't know anything. They don't know what they're talking about.
We do think they're German.
Right. But sometimes it takes somebody outside the circle, that's outside the
Yes.
box, to come in and have a conversation with you and come at you with a different outlook on the situations that are going on, for you to be able to take a different outlook also, like, oh, you know what, maybe I should change something up.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And thanks for bringing your male insight to it.
I'm just saying.
I love it.
Because you guys went on the winning tangent. I had to bring it back. I had to full circle.
It's true. We're wired different, so we respond differently.
So definitely.
And so I feel like that saying they always say, we raise our daughters and we love our sons. Because we are women, we know how to raise them to be women.
Yeah.
But we love our sons. That's why it's so important to have Josh was in a lesbian home, so he's raised by 2 women. There's no male counterpart except when he visits his dad. So I was actually in the phone book on Google trying to find any black mentors I could find in this community, because I was like, because that's a part of me I don't understand, and I want him to be able to have that resource to be like, hey, Bula, do you go to a therapist? Like, he doesn't have anyone to ask that question for you to, validate it.
I'm open. I'm like, yep.
Yep.
You want to go?
We have to, I think that as black women, and we are the strongest people on the planet.
Definitely.
We are responsible for black men's outcomes.
Definitely.
And it comes from the mental health, the trauma, the lack of services.
It affects your DNA. It affects how you're wired, and that's how you behave. And honestly, bringing up incarceration and all of that, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure it's part of that also affects our black young men.
You're 100% right. Definitely.
Because they witness a lot of trauma from childhood, like we were saying earlier. And mothers will bring out, don't do this, don't do that, on top of all that they are witnessing. That affects them. And like you also said, rightly, like he said, we're telling these boys, don't do this. Sometimes they want to be free, they want to try it. It's not that they don't want to do what mom is saying, but mom is talking too much. And everything you're saying is don't do. So they want to try those things that you're even saying don't do. And in the process of trying it, they get in trouble. And when they get in trouble now, instead of the system looking at it as this is a young man that is a teenager maybe, that is exuberant, that has a lot of hormones going inside him, that are trying things stuff out, they incarcerate you instead of getting them help. I don't have too much knowledge about the incarceration, the jail system and all of that.
It's a problem.
But I read that it's a problem. But I come from the mental health aspect. Let's give people opportunity. Try other things to help them, not incarcerating them for 20 years, 50 years. And after 50 years, you tell me, oh, you didn't do it. DNA has
the thing is too, like going to jail, it's not a rehabilitation center, how they try to make it seem. When you go there, you go sit in a cell, you get out, you go eat, maybe go exercise. They took away most of the college program, all the college programs from there.
From Quentin?
From Quentin, everything. You can go to school to get like your GED or something like that, but as far as a further education, can't do any of that. So pretty much
But you can play basketball.
But you can definitely play basketball. I don't know if you're going to get signed by the NBA when you get out, but you can definitely play basketball. But other than that, it's just pretty much somewhere where you're just sitting there rotting. There's like really nothing for you. Yeah.
Just lose your mind.
And being as though we're talking about mental health, the more you're sitting in a cell every day, day in, day out, it's the wheels are just turning. So
you're thinking about the same thing.
Yeah. What did they say? The idle mind is a devil's workshop?
Definitely. Definitely.
And the food they eat. They give you the least nutrients. It's like heavy starch, fake vegetables. Like it's like the food is not also good for your mental health.
Definitely.
It makes you sluggish, heavier. I've watched like my friends. I visit a lot of my friends in jail and my brother, and I'm watching them get thicker from the food. I would think it would be steroids and medicine. No, they're getting thicker from the food they're eating, and they're not getting enough outside time. So it's like, are they trying to kill him?
I know.
Are they trying to drive him crazy?
And you think of what did this person do to deserve all of that?
You gave him 10 years that you were going to give them something to rebuild, put them in a cage is not. Yeah, so I think that we have to consider that in this next step. While the whole world is looking, is talk about mental health inside of our justice system, because we need to change how we sentence. We excessively sentence black men, and they already have the trauma, and it's there's a term for it where it's in our DNA, and then we lock them up in a cage and then pit them against one another. So it's a whole process to eliminate, is what I feel. And I just feel the reason I do my work is to protect black men.
Definitely.
Right.
Well, just real quick, just to touch on that too. How you were saying like the food, starch, and how they get thicker. And So another reason why they're getting thicker and they're not healthy either is because when it comes to the actual mental health department in the corrections facility, the only thing they want to do is give you medication. So now you're running around Seroquels, you're running around on different other psych meds, but there's no one speaking with you. There's no one to really like guide you to where you need to be. Instead, people are just jumping in line every day. It's like the drug line, just jumping in, getting their pills, and there's really nothing to help them. And drugs is just not the cure.
Do they assess them before they start them on medication? Do you see psychiatrists and things like that regularly to maintain and work on the meds?
So what happens, like when you first get there, they pretty much put you in the line and say, do you hear voices? Have you had mental health issues before? And you're like, no. And then like, all right, you go to the regular population. And then you got to think there's people also who come in that try to milk the system and they know that they can get these drugs. So they'll be like, yeah, I hear voices or this and that. So really, the people who really have these mental health issues aren't getting the attention they need. So it's.
That's good to know for the I don't go on the men's
I don't want you guys to go.
I'm not going to go.
We don't want to go either.
I'm going to pass.
We don't want to go.
Right.
We don't want to go. But you never know.
Right.
Sometimes too they put stigma on people that go to jail. You just never know.
Right.
Just never know when you do something that is wrong, or maybe didn't do anything.
Right.
Just be black.
Right.
Yeah.
You just never know.
We've been seeing that lately.
Yeah, you just never know. Oh, it has been a beautiful, beautiful day, and we've had good conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
It's a good start.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot more for us to do in this community.
Yes.
Especially for some of us that have brought ourselves out to talk about these hard to deal issues.
Yeah.
We can't stop now.
Nope.
No.
We'll have to continue, and we'll have to be patient because the road might not be all that smooth. Just be ready to rock and roll and teach and educate as much as we can. Yeah. We need to save Black lives.
Yes.
And we need to save our men. We need to save our kids. We need to save even mothers that have gone through so much trauma. We need to save our community. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
I'm looking forward to coming to your show.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you guys will invite me back someday.
Of course.
You're always welcome to come on the bridge.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all for coming.